like I said before, you're not including human beings in the environmental impact assessment. They should be studying people in those environments, taking their blood, taking tissue samples, and find out what persistent organic pollutants are in them. Human beings come first. We should be a part of these EIAs. I'm not a fool. That's what it seems as everybody, when everybody is deceiving the public. A farce of an environmental impact assessment. Kip, thanks.
All right. Good points, 52. Thank you so much.
I mean, if I could just pick up on what the caller just said, I agree with you, sir. But right now, Equinor has to, or it has applied for permission to rebuild some of those tanks. Now, under the Planning and Subdivision Act, which applies to Grand Bahama, and other recent legislation, the government has tools at its disposal to require environmental impact assessments to be done, site plan approval to be considered, public consultation meetings. None of these things, all of these things should be happening now at this disaster site. But yet it's dead silence. And it's shocking, I agree with you, how complacent, unfortunately, generally we the people are, and also how vacant and absent our politicians are from the human impact of these catastrophes.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
Good morning, Michelle. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. And of course, good morning to all your guests in studio and out of studio.
Morning.
In particular, Mr. Fred Smith. I got a very interesting, just a comment here. I think the Bahamas laws, we have many laws and bylaws on our books that in regard to this crisis we are speaking to. I know for a fact that some Save the Base, for one, has been adamant in trying to strengthen a whole lot of the laws to give them more fight, more teeth, so we can get some of the things done. It's kind of ironic that with the recent spill or breach in our laws with Carnival Cruise Lines, that the Americans can collect millions of dollars in damages, but the Bahamas government have yet to collect a dime, if my memory serves me correctly, to compensate the Bahamian people for what they've done in our territorial waters. And then further to go forward with this line of thinking, you have this Equinor spill in Grand Bahama, which, like you so rightfully said, if it had happened in the parent company of Equinor or any other place, including the United States, there would have been heavy fines and levies against that company in the millions or perhaps billions of dollars, because you don't know to the extent that this oil is going to affect Grand Bahama for quite some time. So do you believe then that it is political will, as Reese Chipman so rightfully said, it is the political will of our politicians to do the right thing to maximize the damages, the benefit for the damages that has already been done? Or do you believe that a lot of our politicians are actually in the pocket of some of these companies, whereas they would not pursue them in the manner that they should for the rights and protection of Bahamians? I would just like to hear your response in that regard. Thank you for taking my call, Michelle.
Thanks for calling, Jeff.
Thank you for your comments, Jeff. Firstly, I don't think that any of the politicians are in the pockets of these multinational corporations. Secondly, I agree with Reese Chipman, and I think you, that it's a question of lack of political will. But thirdly, I think it's a little bit more than that. It's lack of political will, which is coupled by a huge lack of resources. And our politicians, our cabinet ministers, are distracted by having to focus on the most trivial minutiae of every kind of thing that happens in the Bahamas. As Reese said, it's a matter of obsessive pursuit of power and control. Why must the entire cabinet consider whether John Doe from Massachusetts should be allowed to buy a piece of property somewhere in Freeport or in Exuma or somewhere like that? Why does the entire cabinet have to consider whether someone should get citizenship or permanent residency or not? Why does the entire cabinet have to negotiate heads of agreements with every single developer that comes in? I mean, we have created a control monster with our governance system. And so, I know many of the politicians on both sides of the fence, with the best will in the world, they want to do the right thing, but they seem unbelievably frustrated and incapable of getting anything done. And I remember the former Prime Minister Perry Christie lamenting to me how after various meetings, or when he realizes this or that is wrong, he reaches out to the various permanent secretaries, or he sends instructions out, and nothing happens, nothing gets done. And as you rightly pointed out with Save the Bays, many of our judicial reviews have been to identify the relevant laws and then to force the government agencies, not the ministers, but the director of physical planning, or the director of public prosecutions, or the director of the health and environment, the regulatory agents, to do their job under the various acts. And so we have a huge political will issue, and we have a huge issue of spreading everybody at the top too thin, and not holding those who are given the statutory obligation to manage these regulations, hold them accountable. We don't hold people accountable in the Bahamas. We just like to shoot at the politicians at the top, and that doesn't really get anything done.
Hi, you're on the air.
This is such a good topic today.
Thank you.
I mean, it is just so relevant. I mean, I know the government already has its hands full with Dorian and COVID-19, but this is what it is. You're in politics, you got to deal with it. But I agree totally with your panel and Fred's comments about, missed opportunities and the political will. I don't think it's a lack of political will, I think it's lack of skill and management, We've missed so many opportunities to be compensated for negligence against this country. I mean, look at the spill with Carnival Cruise. I mean, why didn't we follow up on that aggressively? Why? Equinox, this company should be made to pay for the damage it has done and is doing to our environment. This impacts us really badly because we're a tourist destination. We rely on our water and all this kind of thing. You got this oil spill, and nobody is like, if they are doing something, they're not communicating it to the people to say, look, we have a task force, somebody dealing with this, so that we could, we could be compensated. This is a real good topic, and I hope someone is listening out there and they deal with these issues.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. I want to read a text real quick, and then we're going to go back to the phone lines, because the texts always accuse me of not showing them any love. So let me try. Let me try to read a couple of texts. Okay, this one says, Michelle, do you find it interesting that the country where Equinor originates refuses to have the type of oil storage facility they set up in Grand Bahama on their homeland soil? How long are we going to be abused? If what your guests are saying is true about oil in Grand Bahama, then Minister Ferreira needs to resign. Parliament and the public were misled with his statements on the issue. Didn't Romy work with Save the Bays and your guest before he went into politics? Wasn't he supposed to be an activist? All right. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
Yes, Michelle, how are you doing?
Hey,
Johnson, and to Mr. Fred Smith and your other guests. I just want to be kind of short because I think we need to have a further dialogue in regards to this, more so from a Grand Bahama centric, but because it affects the assets of the entire Bahamas, we must begin to look at it more proactively towards resolving this. The problem we have in the country is that leadership in our country, at least for the 15 plus years I've been home, goes from crisis to crisis. There's no forward thinking, there's no organized structure for way governance is supposed to happen. No one can tell you what is happening now or what's going to happen next. They continuously running, taking buckets to resolve issues of crisis. No long-term planning, no national vision. But for the people that's listening, I want them to understand the impact of this oil. I'm not going to go into details, but up in East Grand Bahama is considered some of the world's largest underwater cave. They only need to Google Crystal Caves and see the connection between Grand Bahama to the Abacos, what's the people name? The international people that does the anyway, it slipped my mind. They said they cannot put a value on what is found there. In those underwater caves, National Geographic also said that there's some history to the origins of life, and as well as millions of years in those caves that can be disturbed. We have the second largest freshwater supply in the Bahamas. We have a complete mangrove system up there based on a report that generates about $4 to $6 billion a year in carbon credits. We have a coppice system up there that is definitely going to be affected. We have arable land, the farmlands on Grand Bahama is within that particular area. We have the coral reefs that is right there offshore in that particular area. We have the second largest fishing flats in the Western Hemisphere that is in that particular area. I can go on and on and on. And so when you begin to talk about the long-term effects, we're talking about in the multiples of billions of dollars of long-term effects that concern of the impact that this oil spill has have. And so this is not some casual oil spill. The professionals who were the first people on the island who landed said it would take decades to restore what is happening. And those same chemicals and other things are going into the second largest water supply when water and data is the new oil of the 21st century. And so I think it's time for us to become more organized in our deliberation, our investigation, and our move towards compensation for the impact on all Bahamians, because the assets of the Bahamas is collectively belongs to all of us, whether it be the Andres, whether it be Grand Bahama, the Eleuthera, Abaco, or anyone else. And it's time for us to begin to consider that in spite of what they say about global warming, which can be mitigated in the Bahamas, we must consider that the Bahamas will be here for another 100 years, and Bahamians are ahead of us. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Anybody want to respond real quick, or should I go right back to the calls, because we have several waiting?
You could go to a call.
Okay, caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
Michelle, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
And those guys in studio, wow. I keep telling the world, the Bahamas, the Bahamian people are so brilliant. I am proud to be a Bahamian when I hear Michelle, Paradigm Shift, and other shows on Guardian Radio. But particularly the people that y'all bring on, they are super. Now, listen to me. The Equinor thing was out of order as from the report came to the Bahamian people that when you have or are storing those type of chemicals, okay, you have to move some of that stuff out of the impending danger. And these people heard what was coming their way, meaning the Bahamian people way, the environment way, decades after decades way, was something that have never came our way before. That's point number one. My last and final point. Only two I got. Because only two parties ran this country, and that's why I'm only making two.
Yes, your producer, he's producing a show. He or she is producing a show. They have the right to hang up on any caller at any time. It is my view that talk shows or radio stations in general has the right to invite people to call into shows and to hang up on them, whether they finish or not, in regards to respect of persons. It's only done to certain people. But I will go ahead and read this and make my second point by reading this point back into the hearing of 1, the producer who hang up, 2, on behalf of those who were listening to the first point, and 3, the host who obviously don't have 100% control of her show. But that's fine with me. It is her show. Second point, Parliament in this Commonwealth of the Bahamas is the one who's responsible, okay? Parliament is empowered by Article 52(1), okay, of the Constitution to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of the Bahamas, okay? The Constitution also empowers the Parliament to determine the privileges, immunities, powers, and procedures of both the Senate and the House of Assembly. And as I said in my first point, only two parties, okay, have led this country, all right? The Progressive Liberal Party led it for 25 years under Sir Lyndon. Then came the second Prime Minister Ingram, okay? He led the country, okay, for 15 years. Then came Perry Christie. He led the country for 10 years. Now come Prime Minister Minnis, and he is saying, after 3 years of being Prime Minister of the greatest little nation on the face of the planet, thanks to Almighty Yahweh Elohim and his sovereign son, and sons is sovereign S-U-N son and sovereign S-O-N-S sons. Okay? Now, both parties approved government's budget over these years. The sitting prime minister said he's going to be there for 7. A prime minister have a lot of power. I would not put anything past him if he really wants to win a second election. I give thanks and praise because while they could consider Equinox and the oil spill and the harm it brought to our world, because birds and creeping things, the water table, the environment, human beings, everyone is infected from that environment. Infections travel, as we know. We're dealing with COVID-19 right now. COVID-19 is the second issue we're dealing with in our country, that Parliament has the power. They are empowered by the people, okay? Without the people, there is no Parliament. So the Constitution is just important words written on paper, okay? Now, if there is war in our country, Parliament has the empowerment, responsibility to bring peace. If there is disorder, they legislate order, okay? And good government, that's why a freedom of information, in my humble opinion, Miss Michelle Malcolm, and frequent callers, frequent listeners, which is, in my humble opinion, much more than they who call into talk shows in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. My opinion, like I said before on your stations with an S, it's only my opinion, okay? And my opinion will always be honest, with integrity, and the highest order of truthfulness, even if it costs me my life. So help me God. Okay? My children and I, yes, while I speak, I might be hungry, and most of my financial desire, need, or want is unfortunately has been, is in, and will continue to be in the hands of corrupt men and women who pretend by charading around as first people with money, people with education, people who went to private schools, people who went to Catholic and Anglican churches and Baptist churches. Okay? Thank God for the Seventh-day Adventists who will remember Yahweh's word. The Elohim, Jehovah. Thank God for Jehovah. Okay? Rapha, Jehovah Shammah. Okay? Jehovah Jireh. You see? At the end of the day, I'll read it again. Parliament is empowered by Article 52(1) of the Bahamian Constitution to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of the Bahamas. Okay? Now, with a national debt, okay? A country do not need to borrow money from no one. A country just need godly men and women, once again, to lead our country, who fears the Elohim, who fears Jehovah, who fears Jesus, the Christ, the real Christ, the Yeshua, the Messiah of Messiahs, the highest of the highest, the Son of the living God, the Ancient One, the Ancient of Days, he who was and is to come, that one. We were taught his name to be called Jesus Christ. Okay, as relates to our Hebrew way and brought up, see, as relates to our civilization, his name is the Messiah Yeshua, the Emmanuel. Simply mean the power of heavens or heaven is with us in spirit and in truth and in the very beauty of holiness, of which, don't worry about equinox, worry about what's happening in the South China Sea. Okay? Yes, all the natural resources in every nation, the people, the citizens of that nation should, must, and will be benefiting from their nation and from the heritage of life. Okay? It is your heritage. It is inalienable and it is indivisible. The Bahamian Constitution, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. When we came into nationhood in 1973, I was only 3 years old. I didn't really know what was going on. But I had a very powerful family, mother and father, grandfather and grandmother, who knew what was going on. Okay? All right. Now, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights document is fundamental. It has been trampled upon, okay, like the Bahamian Constitution has been trampled upon. Both documents, okay, the Bahamian Constitution has not been taught to the Bahamian people before the internet came around. And if it was given, it was not given for free. It was given at a price. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights in most first world countries, okay, was not taught to their people, okay, before the internet came around. Now, I must say, their constitution or their system of government were in place or put in place to rectify certain issues that would not have arise as it relates to citizenship and privileges and immunities and powers and procedures and everything that makes up a nation, a country, a God-fearing country. And by the way, the Spirit of the Most High God owns every nation. And that's why you're in war now, because those who know the truth failed to teach those who are young and don't know by nature of not knowing how to look within for the answers of today. So honesty, integrity, truth, that is what parliaments around the world ought to be about. Every man, every woman need the S-U-N son. Without the S-U-N son, every human being, forget about what's happening in the South China Sea. Without the S-U-N son, we have nothing. We're dead. Everything on the earth, everything in the ocean, and then everything in the stratosphere. Atmosphere and stratosphere is gone because there is no love, no genuine respect for the sun. So we give thanks and praise to the Most High Yahweh Elohim, sovereign Son, the majesty of mankind. And time is the master of humanity. And the Creator is so powerful. He has a governor over time. It's called eternity. And that's where the Spirit of the Most High lives. And let me leave these words. Where the Spirit of the Most High Creator, Yahweh Elohim, Son is, there will be liberty. May Yahweh
take a $2 royalty on it, the Ragonite, per dry ton. You make your product that's very valuable. You export it. We collect no taxes on the export of your product. I'm trying to figure out what we're doing, what we're talking about. It says Eleuthera selling 1 acre of land. 1 acre of land's go for $48,000 in Eleuthera as we speak. It ain't no acre I'm gonna go get, but it ain't gonna cost no $48,000. I can tell you that. You could buy a third of an acre on Grand Bahama for like $35,000-$40,000. Probably less now. McCartney, with the seemingly mixed-up, rambling Amos, was trying to say is if we're going to keep selling Bahamian citizenship for money, please sell it for more than $500,000 or $1 million. We're selling it too low. $5 million sounds good to me. And as relates to the high cost of real estate and high mortgages, Bahamians are continuously being priced out of the market. Many are now homeless, and many more will become homeless if we continue to go the way we're going. Yeah. So definitely, Immovable Properties Act, it has pros and cons. I think it really helped change the economy of the Bahamas in terms of creating a real second home market here. But it also did price us out of all the coastline. Most of us, anyway. But there's some things we did.
I just wanted to say it's a very reactionary from our government and our leaders, because it's always a wait until something drastic happens and then rush to make decisions, and it's almost like a Band-Aid effect. But if we had these procedures and stuff in place, then we'd know how to move forward. But in the absence of that, we're relying on the company itself to tell us, say this or this is what it is, and then they repeat it and people believe it. But I think the time has changed now where the Bahamian people aren't accepting that anymore, because we want substance instead of just form. It's about quality of life. That was said earlier by Mr. Smith and Rashema. It's about quality of life and not just dollars.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, you're on the air.
This is such a good topic today.
Thank you.
I mean, it is just so relevant. I mean, I know the government already has its hands full with Dorian and COVID-19, but this is what it is. You're in politics, you got to deal with it. But I agree totally with your panel and Fred's comments about, missed opportunities and the political will. I don't think it's a lack of political will, I think it's lack of skills and management, We've missed so many opportunities to be compensated for negligence against this country. I mean, look at the spill with Carnival Cruise. I mean, why didn't we follow up on that aggressively? Why? Equinox, this company should be made to pay for the damage it has done and is doing to our environment. This impacts us really badly, because we're a tourist destination. We rely on our water and all this kind of thing. You got this oil spill, and nobody is like, if they are doing something, they're not communicating it to the people to say, look, we have a task force, somebody dealing with this, so that we could, we could be compensated. This is a real good topic, and I hope someone is listening out there and they deal with these issues.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. I want to read a text real quick, and then we're going to go back to the phone lines, because the texts always accuse me of not showing them any love. So let me try. Let me try to read a couple of texts. Okay, this one says, Michelle, do you find it interesting that the country where Equinor originates refuses to have the type of oil storage facility they set up in Grand Bahama on their homeland soil? How long are we going to be abused? If what your guests are saying is true about oil in Grand Bahama, then Minister Ferreira needs to resign. Parliament and the public were misled with his statements on the issue. Didn't Romy work with Save the Bays and your guest before he went into politics? Wasn't he supposed to be an activist? All right. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
Yes, Michelle, how are you doing?
Hey,
Johnson, and to Mr. Fred Smith and your other guests. I just want to be kind of short because I think we need to have a further dialogue in regards to this, more so from a Grand Bahama centric, but because it affects the assets of the entire Bahamas, we must begin to look at it more proactively towards resolving this. The problem we have in the country is that leadership in our country, at least for the 15 plus years I've been home, goes from crisis to crisis. There's no forward thinking, there's no organized structure for way governance is supposed to happen. No one can tell you what is happening now or what's going to happen next. They continuously running, taking buckets to resolve issues of crisis. No long-term planning, no national vision. But for the people that's listening, I want them to understand the impact of this oil. I'm not going to go into details, but up in East Grand Bahama is considered some of the world's largest underwater cave. They only need to Google Crystal Caves and see the connection between Grand Bahama to the Abacos, what's the people name, the international people that does the, anyway, it slipped my mind. They said they cannot put a value on what is found there. In those underwater caves, National Geographic also said that there's some history to the origins of life, and as well as millions of years in those caves that can be disturbed. We have the second largest freshwater supply in the Bahamas. We have a complete mangrove system up there based on a report that generates about $4 to $6 billion a year in carbon credits. We have a coppice system up there that is definitely going to be affected. We have arable land, the farmlands on Grand Bahama is within that particular area. We have the coral reefs that is right there offshore in that particular area. We have the second largest fishing flats in the Western Hemisphere that is in that particular area. I can go on and on and on. And so when you begin to talk about the long-term effects, we're talking about in the multiples of billions of dollars of long-term effects that concern of the impact that this oil spill has have. And so this is not some casual oil spill. The professionals who were the first people on the island who landed said it would take decades to restore what is happening. And those same chemicals and other things are going into the second largest water supply when water and data is the new oil of the 21st century. And so I think it's time for us to become more organized in our deliberation, our investigation, and our move towards compensation for the impact on all Bahamians, because the assets of the Bahamas is collectively belongs to all of us, whether it be the Andres, whether it be Grand Bahama, the Lucas, Abaco, or anyone else. And it's time for us to begin to consider that in spite of what they say about global warming, which can be mitigated in the Bahamas, we must consider that the Bahamas will be here for another 100 years, and Bahamians are ahead of us. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Anybody want to respond real quick, or should I go right back to the calls, because we have several waiting?
You could go to a call.
Okay. Caller, welcome to the Paradigm Shift.
Michelle, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
And those guys in studio, wow. I keep telling the world, the Bahamas, the Bahamian people are so brilliant. I am proud to be a Bahamian when I hear Michelle, Paradigm Shift, and other shows on Guardian Radio. But particularly the people that y'all bring on, they are super. Now, listen to me. The Equinor thing was out of order as from the report came to the Bahamian people that when you have or are storing those type of chemicals, okay, you have to move some of that stuff out of the impending danger. And these people heard what was coming their way, meaning the Bahamian people way, the environment way, decades after decades way, was something that have never came our way before. That's point number one. My last and final point. Only two I got.
On this particular matter. So that's what we're dealing with today. This whole thing about Morgan's Bluff. You know what Morgan's Bluff is? Right from the tongue of the ocean. You come right into the natural harbor. They don't have to do nothing. All they got to do is go there and load up. That's why they want that place so bad. That's why the families here have been wanting that place for so long. They've been trying like hell to get that place. You got to make sure that they don't get that place. But they've already started to make some things happen, because yesterday they did what?
They voted.
They voted.
The council voted in support.
The council voted in support of them.
Without even having town meetings to get the opinion of the residents.
Nothing like
of
that
Andros.
happened. Nothing like that happened. Can you imagine that? We just giving away land.
And then you know what? Let me say this right. This council, because of the COVID-19 and the suspension of elections, local government elections, really, ought not to have any say in such a dramatic.
Absolutely.
And this kind of project is just too huge for them to make that kind of vote, because they are a lame duck.
Yeah, man, they ain't got no say.
They're lame duck, and once elections are called, there's going to be new council. You know what I mean? So you should not be able to make that kind of decision. And besides, we know that it's the Prime Minister's office that has the control of mining. So we say to him, sir, take it easy. Do not allow this project to give even a thought to you. There's something that you cannot do. 500 acres, 200 acres, 1,000 acres is just simply
can't do it.
Too much. It cannot happen. You can't do it. You can't let those people get into the well fields and contaminate it. You can't do it. It's just too great.
6:36 is the time. Let me get some calls on the telephone line. Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, sir.
636. Been here for a long time, Mr. McKinney.
Who?
I was here when Mr. Miller called you on your private phone. He still get in before me. I was here before that. But anyway. So what me and you was talking about years ago, the illegal immigrants on our doggone land, putting all kind of refuge in the water table right in New Providence. We have 27 or 37 shanty towns around Nassau where people are putting refuge. We're talking about feces and urine into our water table right in the 21/7 island, right here in New Providence, and nobody put the toll on it, checking it. They're going to mess up right in here, okay? There is no suspects, there's no running water, and they're doing it on a daily basis, and nobody's saying nothing about it.
My Lord.
You're talking about this thing in Morgan's Bluff. A lot of the people in Bahamas right now don't even know what Morgan's Bluff is. Never been to Morgan's Bluff. Never see how beautiful that little cut is. I got a friend of mine that lives in Nassau, got a yacht park right there right now, a yacht. Parked right there in Morgan's Bluff right now. And moves between Nassau and Tigum. Okay? A beautiful natural cut out the land. Walk right there. You just go right out into the ocean, go out fishing, and come back and park the yacht. And if you listen, you know just what I'm talking about. You remember back in 1975, 1976 and everything, 1977, you remember the Arawaki, not fish fry, the Arawaki water pumping project?
Yes, yes.
My brother was the project manager, Kip Pinder, God rest the dead.
Kip, yeah.
Was the project manager between Morgan's Bluff and building the Arawaki pumping station. I used to work the Arawaki when we built the pumping station. What happened to that? They got rid of that. Now they got the port there, right?
That's
Remember
right.
that?
Yes, that's right.
Now, if you go from Morgan, from North Andros, you could still drive down the road, the main road, and see on the eastern side of the road, the big pipes go into the pure water field.
Yeah, that's right.
The pipe's still there. They disbanded that project through politics and everything. We never check who are the accounting firms, who are the legal firms are involved in this project, what they talking about right now. Because you know when foreigners come into the country, they got to have Bahamian legal firms and accounting firms to report their stuff to the government, right?
Yeah.
And you got Paul in that, isn't that so?
Paul is there, yeah.
So who's the legal firms that can back these people who want this land? Who's the accounting firms that back these people who want? See, Mr. McKinney, let me say something. Y'all just talk on these talk shows. And then the next thing you know, it done sign, it done gone, and then everybody keep quiet.
This one ain't signed yet. No. We on top of this one.
The past shows what always has happened.
I understand.
We talk. We can do this. We can march. We can do this and that. And next thing we know, there was foreign Chinese or American or Frenchman in there, got the thing up and running, and give a couple of Bahamians one job to be one manager and drive some truck and thing. And it's gone.
I hear you.
Because we don't fight.
Yeah, I want to get us to be fighting too. I just like you.
We talk. We don't fight. We need to close. Wait, I want to say something, but you wouldn't let me say it on your radio. We need to go down Bay Street one day and really do and block down. You know what we need to do? Not no curfew, not no lockdown. We need to do what them taxi drivers do back in the 50s, where they shut down the Bahamas for 19 days.
Yeah.
Shut it down and tell, look here, let's start all over again because y'all getting out of hand.
Yeah, no question.
I don't care if you got red shirt, green shirt, yellow shirt, whatever shirt you got, but y'all is black Bahamians.
And it's coming to that.
In our country, to foreign white people.
It's coming to that. Sparky.
And they always do that. That's how black people picky head cooking to black people from over the hill. Doing that to us continuously, and all we do is talk.
Yeah, well.
We need to fight. Have a good day.
I appreciate it. Sparky has put the thing on the table because that's exactly what we need to do, you know. That's the truth. We need to do something drastic this particular time.
This is an attempt. I think all the talk that we're hearing right now is the attempt to get it on the table because, I mean, let's look at it, right? The government of the Bahamas says that they do not have any knowledge of this. I shouldn't say that because Peter Jangwest said that there's no proposal. That's what he said.
Right.
So it tells me that there is some knowledge of it. And what they are doing, in my view, is putting a test out there, you know, a feeling to see how...
See how the people feel.
Yeah, how the people feel.
Well,
when
I
there's
hope...
10,000, talk of 10,000 jobs are going to get them, you know, all giddy to allow this project to come. But they must remember that these people want to have... They don't want to be taxed. This is greater than the Oban deal. They do not want to have any kind of taxation on anything that they do. Things coming in or things going out. No taxation. This for like 50 years. Can you imagine that? You're putting on the Bahamian people. This is what we have done. As a government right now, we're putting the burden of the debt on the generations yet born.
That's right.
And you want to continue this charade doing the same thing? Listen, we're in this mess because we have given concessions to every developer in this country. Everyone. They've gotten it. And who are paying it? We, the Bahamian people, are paying the taxes for it. And this is what you want to do? You want to give them 500,000 acres? Can you imagine that?
Could you imagine that? 500,000 acres.
500,000. I mean, they're so audacious. I mean, can you imagine that? 500,000 acres.
And that's what the fellas them say. That's what they'll take, you know.
They would take it because they would say, listen, our leaders say, hey, well, we can't give you 500,000, give you 250,000. And they feel good about that.
That time the fellas them would perhaps sell it for 11,000.
The fellas them say, man, just go take it for the top. Take it, you know, you want a million acres, try and get a million acres.
Anyway,
500,000.
I'm thinking that Prescott Smith, who would have been a part of what's been happening in Andros yesterday when that first petition was signed by the movers and shakers down there, that he would call me today and put his word in And I know that I've gotten a number of good pieces of information coming up from down in Andros today from him, because I know that we have to deal with this thing. We dealt with it in a big way in 2016, and we had them back off. At that particular time, they had all their players in sight, and we made them back off. There's something wrong with that. All of Romeo and all these fellas that need to be questioned, thoroughly questioned, and possibly, I wouldn't say what they need to have happen to them, but, we've got to deal with this whole matter. And the thing is, we've got to deal with this matter today. We can't be playing with this whole thing.
We can't. I see, this is another Oban for me. This is just crazy. It makes no economic sense.
Yeah. For this to make this thing sell. If we can get most of the talk show hosts to zero in on this particular one, because this is for the whole hog now. If we can get them all to zero in on this, get the cameras and everybody to go down there and find out what's going on, make this a full documentary for television and radio so that people can understand, they will bring the kind of spotlight to this particular matter, and Mr. Menace will not be able to get away with this. And that time is now, because we are in the doldrums and we need a new economy. And we'll be damned to let these fellas them come and throw some jobs around and talk foolishness and talk what they want to do this. No, sir. We are hard at this. I expect Sidney Thompson and all the fellas them to be on this case to make this a noted thing. And we want to make sure that all of us, as journalists, reporters, go to Romeo. What was his name?
Romy Ferreira.
Romy Ferreira. And question him. And tell him, don't talk no foolishness about no two birds and a goat. I'm serious about this, because this is a real thing that's happening here today. And others may have caught you by surprise, but we gave you some indication as to what's going to happen with this particular thing this week. And I told you when Peter Peach was on the show, we told you that we will be looking at this. And this is the first crack at it. Now, you need to know something. There are some people who, in fact, knew about this thing for a little while. This has been in the making for a little while, more than 6 months, according to Reconciler, way more than 6 months. From the time of the previous government, some things had been in motion. And I remember there was some talk one time ago in the cabinet of Mr. Hubert Alexander Ingram about some people coming here to do some things at Morgan's Bluff. And the word was that these are not the Chinese people. But apparently, this man is a Chinese.
But he was actually born in South Africa. He's South African by birth.
Mm.
He has some Chinese ancestry.
That's right.
He's an American citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So he's multicultural.
I see.
And fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And got plenty of money.
I had a lot of money. Got a lot of money. But we know that. This is something that's being headed by Cameron Simonet, who is the
That's right, Cameron. I heard the name.
Theodore Brent Simonet.
There you go. Now that's Theodore. I talked with him last week. Not Theodore, but I was saying to Peter Puch, it was this man called about TB. And he asked me who was TB. I say, must be Theodore Brent. Now, you're telling me about Cameron, who is the big man down there,
who's a
negotiating nephew of Brent Simonet. And this is how this whole deal is going. So, you see what I'm saying? It's the same old players, the same people who are dealing with this whole thing. How much more do they want? Now, I'm not opposed to them trying to get something. I can't. But the point is, see, they have been controlling Aragonite in the Bahamas for many years. For 70 years.
And they're part, the family controls
From the
also.
grandfather controlling the Aragonite for 70 years. Come on, man.
They control also the port here in Nassau.
The port.
And, you know, this port, there can be no other port in this country for another, 25 years or so.
They got everything on lockdown.
On this island. So they're doing it now in Andros.
In Andros.
Which is outside the 22 miles that
That's
they
right.
say that the port could not be built. And so you realize that if you are able to control the ports, you control the country.
That's exactly right. And that's what they want to do. They want to control the country.
So
I mean,
everything
come
comes
on,
to the port.
Bahamians. I mean, we cannot be this daft. You know, we've got to rise up and find what we have to. We've got to do some things. We've got to get together and do some things. I know they've caught us off guard again because it's very, very sneaky what they've been doing. And they've been working, and I told Pierre last week when he was on this show that they were paying the people out last week in Andros. And here it is, this week, yesterday, they were able to get what? The documents what?
Got their approval.
Okay, thank you kindly. Okay, very good. Hard copy, how are you?
Yeah, hey, Steve, how you doing?
All is well.
Yes, sir. I want to get right to my point. This IMF and in regard, hey guys, good evening. In respect to the IMF and the boards of governors and the fact that in a nation we already established, protocol already established as relates to the knowledge of what we have. Okay, cabinet ministers tell us what we have. The central bank information told us what we have. The information through the World Bank told us what we have. Google, the world's largest search engine, told us what we have. Okay, so we know what we have. But this is the issue I take with the IMF and the Board of Governors statement that a Bahamian former cabinet minister made yesterday in saying that in saying he's straightening out the Bahamian people in terms of we complaining about all the borrowing money from the IMF, but we don't even, in other words, we don't even know who's the IMF. And he goes on to say who makes up the IMF Board of Governors, which is the governors of the different central banks. But my point is this: when you have a prime minister and you have cabinet members who are not listening to the people, who are elected by the people under a democratic process, and when they are elected, they give away the citizens or the nation natural assets, that's treason.
I appreciate it. You're right about that. That is treason. And we've got to do something.